Economics, as many of you probably know, is really about taking the possible and then narrowing it down to the practical, which is why I'm kind of nominated to be the wet blanket here today. Now, we know that when we make decisions, economists think that we somehow optimize, that we know what our constraints are, and then we try to do the best that we can with all the resources we have subject to those constraints, right? That's economics in a nutshell. And as a result of that, you would think, well, if you're making decisions with imperfect information, then surely more information will help you to make better decisions. So this great proliferation of data must be a good thing. It must be raising well-being all around the world because now we can make these better decisions with more information. But there's a problem here, which is that sometimes there are actually constraints on the way we make decisions. There's so much data out there, and there's actually a cost to trying to collect it, and search through it, process it, and then think about it. It takes time and it takes resources as well. And we don't have unlimited time and resources to make these decisions. So we have to make these decisions under constraints as well. This is what economists call bounded rationality. It's not that we're being irrational. It's not that we're ignoring information or making decisions that don't seem to be based on it. It's that we just can't use all of it. There are constraints to what we can do. And one of the results of bounded rationality is that we tend to search for the answer to a question until the cost of searching would be too great. And we just take sort of whatever the satisfactory answer was that we could find within that search window. We're not getting the best answer anymore. We're not optimizing anymore. We're just getting a satisfactory answer. Another effect that we found through research of bounded rationality is that people tend to make decisions in series and not necessarily in parallel. Parallel is a magic word around here, right? Because we have parallel computing. We have computers that can solve a lot of problems at the same time. The way we do it with our bounded rationality is we tend to take one problem, then we go on to another problem, and that's not always the most productive way to solve problems. A third problem is that we can't look out into the future as much as we might like to, right? Because, hey, the further out into the future you go, you get these sort of huge open jaws of possibilities that just gape wider and wider the further you go in time. And that means more and more information that we have to process to make good decisions. And so if you just consider a chess player, right, they've just got this very simple chessboard with a bunch of pieces on it. It's much more simple than the world that we live in. But even the best chess players can really only think 5 or 10 moves in advance, right? How are we going to make decisions 5, 10 years in advance if we're running a company or something like that? It's very difficult, right? All of these are the bounds of our rationality. Now, I think that the internet and all the data that's online is creating a real bounded rationality problem because we look out there and we know there's all this information, but we just can't sift through it all so easily. And in fact, we don't even know how good the information is, right? There's no way to even figure out what the universe looks like because it's so enormous. And so this is a huge bounded rationality problem for us. If you consider something like search, right? Let's say I'm trying to find the answer to a question on the internet. Well, the first question is the answer out there? I think that more and more the answer is probably yes, right? Because we're getting almost all the information known to mankind out there. The second question is, can I find it within a reasonable amount of time? And I don't know about you, but I don't look to the 10th page of search results. I probably stop on the 3rd page. How many people go to the 10th or the 15th page? Yeah, not very many. I don't see any hands, actually. Okay, one back there. Yes, good for you. I would say that what we've seen is in the early days of the internet, there was a certain amount of information online and there was a limited number of websites. So, you could probably find it decently well. Then search engines got better. We got Alta Vista and Lycos and Google. And with Google, you saw that accelerate, right? It was easier to find stuff. But then we started to see a proliferation of websites. And all of a sudden, there's all this garbage out there. And even with Google, it's really hard to find what you're looking for. And so the ease of finding stuff has been going down, even as the likelihood that it's out there has been going up. And what this means is that we may have already passed the golden age of search. And we may be in a situation now where bounded rationality is really starting to bind. And unless we come up with a better search technology, that's just going to get worse. Okay? So have I been a good wet blanket so far? All right, thank you very much. Well, I just wanted to leave you with the idea that information really has costs. There are costs to using it, there are costs to putting it online, there are costs to making it searchable. And so I want you to think about that as well as all the benefits that information can afford us.